Hello everybody, it's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and welcome to what might be a new series. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like me to continue or not. The whole idea here is to focus on or showcase HTML5 based game engines. There are a lot of them. I'm going to look at the best amongst them, and the HTML5 has a lot of upsides. First off, you can write your code and generally immediately see the changes. It's a nice way to learn. You can get in and dabble and immediately get feedback on what you're working on. On top of that, HTML5 is probably as close as we've gotten to write once, run anywhere, other than maybe Flash, which is kind of dead now, so making HTML5 even more important that way. So there are a lot of upsides to HTML5. There are a lot of downsides too, but we're not going to focus on negatives in this video. And today the engine I choose to look at is Panda 2. And we're going to start with Panda 2, just pretty much chosen at random. There's a lot of people that really recommend this engine, so I decided I would check it out and I'd share the experience with you guys. Now, Panda 2 is a game engine in two parts. Underneath it, there is an open source game engine. So that is available to everybody. It's under a very liberal license. We'll see that in a second. Now, on top of that, there is a commercial editor, completely optional. I think it's about $50 a year. If you're interested in it, again, optional. So we're going to look at both of those pieces as we jump in and look at Panda 2. Now, of course, all of these URLs will be in the comments down below, so don't worry about writing them down. First off, we are looking at the GitHub page for the Panda engine. The Panda engine is the technology that runs underneath our example. It's MIT open source license. MIT license is probably amongst my favorites for open source license. It's basically the do what the hell you want with this source code, just don't sue us license. So you can use it for commercial projects, you can change it, you can derive from it, you name it. You can pretty much do whatever you want. You just can't sue them over it. And if they make your computer somehow explode, not their fault. So pretty sane, pretty straightforward license. And we're going to come back here and look at some of the examples and documentation in a little bit. But there is a very good amount of documentation for this engine. And this is your typical 2D cross-platform HTML5 based game engine. Now on top of that, we have Panda 2. Now, Panda 2 is the editor, game development platform, and runtime that works on top of the Panda game engine. Once again, this is optional, but there are some nice productivity tools here that could be definitely worth it as a value add. In addition to the editor, which we're going to see in a second, there is also, by the way, we're looking at the trial. You've also got the ability with the full-blown version to download plugins and extensions, things like ads, spine, tiled support, gamepad support. You can extend the functionality if you have the full-blown version. And there are a bunch of templates to get you started. Things like an RPG, flying fish, spaceship game. The one we're looking at today is freely available. It's Flying Dog. It is a godforsaken Flappy Bird clone. Nothing against their example. I just can't stand Flappy Bird. But it is illustrative of what a game engine is capable of, so I understand why so many people use it. So this is the Panda 2 editor built on top of everything. As you see, there's a project management system here. I am using the trial version. The full-blown version just enables exporting as well as the ability to add those extensions and plugins and templates and such. So I'm going to fire that up, and you see here is the primary editing environment. You've got your code over here in a full-blown editor. Cool thing is here, it's kind of slow, but there is, come on, code completion. Eventually. So it could definitely use a speed up, but you get code completion there, which is always very nice when you're first learning how to use a technology. On top of that, you have kind of a breakdown or a skeletal view of your overview of your class. So you see here, main is being invented with this create scene main. So what it's done is it's parsed out here and figured out all of the objects being, so here we've got create class of obstacle, and then create a class of parallax sprite, and then of player, and it automatically just creates these quick jumps so you can navigate to your top level objects within your code base. Also have the ability to jump in and see the assets that make up your game, the modules that make up your game, and then just raw files that make up your game. Here is obviously where you would edit your code. The cool thing is, so as I mentioned, the editor on top and the engine underneath are separate projects, but you click update button at any time and this will download the most current version of the game engine for you, so you're always up to date if you want to synchronize between the two projects. Exporting obviously is disabled in this particular version, but you can use something like PhoneGap to export for iOS or Android. Cool thing is this actual project or program runs on Mac, Windows, and Linux, so pretty much every platform is well represented when it comes to using the editor itself. Obviously, the game engine being HTML5 based runs on any HTML5 compatible browser or browser embedded technology. So you basically, head on back over here. So you see here, your typical coding structure goes over here, and then over here you have a preview of your game running. At any time you can reset the game or reset the scene. So let's do a full reload of the game. And then I can click here, focus, and we can actually try out and play our game over here. As you see, I suck really badly at Flappy Bird's games. We've also got the ability to toggle sound off and on, preview it in mobile or desktop modes. We can export this straight up, open it in our other browser. We can take a screenshot, and then down here we have, we can debug the sprites that are in our scene, debug the physics in our scene, debug the cameras in our scene, debug hit areas, debug fake touch, so if you got to do multi-touch, I believe, and debug panel. At the same time, I can also open up the web-enabled developer tool or debug tools. I think it's done by there. So you see, this is just developer tools straight out from your browser. So that is the top-level editing environment. It's more, again, convenience and value add. You could, of course, do all of this stuff using your text editor of choice and just use the game engine itself. So it is fully optional. Now we're going to get into the area of documentation and materials. The cool thing is your code samples, there are quite a few of them. So as you see here, you come in, you want to learn how to do a particular thing using the engine. I'm going to stay away from the sound because I don't want to blow your ears out. But say you want to learn graphics, how to draw an arc. You come in here, you see on this side, there's the code required to do so. Over here is a preview of the end results. Keyboard handling, so if you want to handle keyboard down, and you can run it and see the results over here. So you got a pretty good base of documentation for teaching you how to use the engine. So here I need to do some scaling code. Something didn't work there. All right, let's try position instead. So there. Oh, there's no input. So you see code basically here is showing you how to load a sprite and position it on a screen. So you've got really good reference material over here or examples to work from. On top of that, we can get into the documentation. The documentation is also quite solid. You got code editor, basically this is the shortcuts to get you around using the Panda editor itself. Or we can get into the API documentation, which is class-based documentation. So for example, if I needed information on how to use sounds, load that up, and each particular class is documented. Now, some of them are a little minimal, but realistically, what do you need to know about is playing? And then you see the parameters that each function takes, and this is actually kind of useful because when you get into HTML5 with variadic parameters coming in, it can be a bit confusing. So there is full-blown reference on the underlying engine there that's useful for you, regardless if you're using the editor on top or not. Yeah, and that's it. That's Panda 2. Now again, the base game engine is available on GitHub, and I will toss that link up down below. And then the editor on top is available for $49 a year or $200 outright. And as you saw from what I did today, full-blown trial is available, just lacks the ability to use plugins or to do exporting. So yeah, that is the Panda game engine in two parts, the underlying open source game engine and the commercial-based editor built on top of it. Are you a Panda user? What do you think of it? Does it look interesting to you? Can you justify a price tag attached, or you got no interest? Let me know down below. Also, of course, let me know what you think about continuing this series. Are you interested in learning what game engine options are out there for HTML5 game engines, or would you rather I just did this as a one and done? Let me know that in the comments down below as well. All right, talk to you all later. Goodbye.